Hi there and welcome along to the latest edition of the England Golf Podcast. Ian McFarlane here, thanks for joining me as always, and I hope you enjoy listening to the three guests we have lined up for you this month as much as I enjoyed chatting to them. We'll hear from Hannah Screen, the winner of the Home Internationals the past 2 years as part of the England women's team, and a talented golfer with her eyes firmly focused on the next stage of her career, a move that involves her pushing aside thoughts of professional golf for a role in the media. Kipp Popert, one of the world's leading golfers with a disability, joins me for a wide-ranging chat about the direction his career is moving in, showing off in front of Tiger Woods and Tom Watson at St Andrews, his dreams of the Walker Cup, and how the tragic loss of his cousin at a young age continues to drive him in the quest to become, in his words, one of the biggest overachievers in the game. And please listen out for a wonderful conversation with Keith McIntosh of Leyland Golf Club, who's doing so much to ensure members of the local community touched by that cruelest of conditions, Alzheimer's, can still find a spark of joy at their local golf club. With World Alzheimer's Day falling on Wednesday the 21st of September, it was great to chat with Keith about a condition that will sadly touch too many of us in our lifetime. There's also a news roundup from a busy month of competition, but let's start with Hannah Screen. Hannah's come back from college in Oklahoma this summer, and she promptly won the first ever English Under-25 Championship at Woburn. She then played her part in a combined men's and women's team success at the Home Internationals in Ballyliffin in County Donegal, and has opted to follow a different route from most of her peers. I caught up with a Berkhamsted golfer recently to discuss her season and what happens next. Hannah, good to see you again. It's been quite a year finishing college in America and all your events that you've played in. Tell us first about college in America, because you graduated this year from Oklahoma.
I did. I graduated in May and I just had the best time. The 4 years went really quickly, but I enjoyed every minute, and I got to see so many amazing places and play some great golf, and then to get my degree at the same time is obviously ideal.
What's the highlight of the college course? Is it on the course? Is it off the course? All the stuff that goes with being in America and just living there and living that American dream, if you like.
Yeah, the American dream. I don't think I could pick one thing. It is a combination. It is the golf and the standard you play, and as you said, it's the off the course moments with your teammates that I'll never forget. And of course, the bonus things like the weather, the food, all of those fun things.
Yeah. When you came through the England golf pathway and you decided to go to college in America, was that just the be-all and end-all for you? Was it the only thing you ever considered, going to college, or was that a tough decision? Because there's a lot of kids who are maybe 16, 17 who'll be in the same boat that you were 4 or 5 years ago.
It's definitely difficult to navigate at the time. Any international student, people can tell you all this information, but it's just, you don't really know anything about it. It is difficult to navigate, but I'm so glad that I decided to take that step and move out there. I think it was one of the best things I've ever done. But I also kept my options open here. I did my A-levels and I even applied to English universities and deferred for a year just in case I went out to America and I didn't like it and I wanted to come home. So I've definitely kept two paths in mind, and my parents have always been really encouraging of keeping my education going for as long as possible, and I'm really grateful they did that.
Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself returning to America one day? Could you live out there?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe way in the future. Right now, I've missed home quite a lot. I'm glad to be home now, glad to be back with my family. And yeah, it sounds so weird. I've missed food, and I sound really boring. I've missed like the architecture and the fields, and you can go on walks, and that's something I did miss in America. So I'm glad to be home.
Yeah, everything's new in America, isn't it? When I say new, it's 200 years old. They think this is amazing. You know, things in this country are 700-800 years old. In terms of your golf this summer, first time I caught up with you again was at Woburn for the English Under-25s, which you won by 7 shots in the end. What was that week like for you, getting back into competing and getting in that winner's circle?
It felt really calm, actually. I would never usually use that word to describe a golf tournament, but I guess the fact I just stepped off the plane, 2-3 days before the tournament, and I'd just been playing for fun out in America in the gap between coming home and after I graduated, and I just felt really comfortable in my game. I love Woburn, And my main purpose was to go out there and enjoy it, and I really think that helped me succeed that week with the win.
Yeah. You looked very relaxed on the golf course. Is that the kind of happiest you felt for a while in that tournament environment? Because it can be quite stressful and competitive and all the rest of it, but you looked as if you were just out having fun. It was just a normal game of golf.
Yeah, I would say one of the most relaxed I've been. I was definitely out there enjoying it. Just a very different dynamic, almost taking each week as it comes, whereas before, all the years before, I've known almost to the day what I'm doing every day and when the tournament is and travel days. But and it was quite local to me as well, which obviously makes a difference. I could stay at home. I really enjoyed it that week. It was great.
Mm-hmm. On the back of that, you also then get selected for the home internationals. You had played the previous year at Woodall Spa when the women's team had won there. Did that come as a bit of a surprise to you to get picked again for England? Was that something on your radar? Was it something you were keen to pick up? I mean, what was your thought process around that?
I have kept in contact with England in the past year as I decided to take a step away from the women's squad for my senior year, just to have some more freedom. My schedule, I really didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't want to obviously let England down or then be disappointed if I was changing my plans all the time. But I guess I'd been in contact with them kind of all year, speaking about it and opportunities coming up. And I mean, after the win, I guess I wasn't surprised because I had been talking to them, but it was obviously great to get selected and to head over to Ballyliffin. And it was a bit of a new format, and it was quite a new team to me. I hadn't played with any of the other girls on the team, which is always a bit nerve-wracking, but when we got there, it was totally fine, and we all got on really well. We had a great week.
Yeah. Just about that whole internationals week, I mean, I think you paired up with Olivia Lee, first of all, in the foursomes. Now, these are youngsters. This seems terrible, not bracketing you as a youngster, but, you know, Olivia Lee, Rachel Gurley, Lottie Wood, these girls are coming through from the girls' squad into the women's squad, and you're one of the senior players. Did you feel that responsibility when you and Olivia teed it up in that first foursomes?
I did a little bit. It's weird. I remember being, sharing a room with Alice Hewson and feeling really quite young and almost looking up to what all the older girls were doing when I travelled with them before. But now finding myself in that position was quite strange. Although Olivia Lee was great. I actually had a pretty bad cold that week, and on the course she was kind of acting like my mum at some point. She was like, okay, we need to drink water, we need to eat, have you taken medicine, all of this stuff. She was great, and it was quite, I liked being in that position of being the older one and feeling like hopefully the girls could come to me if they needed anything, and we could all support each other.
And you had a good win in the singles in the afternoon against one of the strongest players in the Wales team, Harriet Lockley. So good just to get that first point under your belt again.
Yeah, it always helps the confidence on that first day to get that point out of the way, holes a few putts, and I think it really helps seeing the ball go in the hole on a hard links course like that. And then, just take that confidence, and we moved it to the 2 days afterwards because we knew Ireland was going to be a tough match on the last day.
If you forgive me, I'll gloss over the Scotland day, if that's okay. Just the fact that you won your foursomes in Scotland. Go straight to the Ireland match. What was that like? Because it looked at one point as if Ireland were going to run away with it, and then slowly but surely the team kind of clawed it back in the afternoon. What was it like to be part of that?
It was, I won't lie, it was probably my most intense England match I've played ever.
In what sense?
The people I was paired with, Lucy Jameson and I were paired with in the morning, there was some tension at points, comments, it always happens, and and it was very tense. And then my singles in the afternoon was even more tense, and I got an early lead in my singles, and then I kind of lost it a little bit. Beth, my opponent, she started playing really well, and it was a great match. But I'm glad that we all, as you say, dug our claws in and really gritted it out to the end. And we did draw, unfortunately, and lost on count back. But I mean, we all just tried our hardest, and there was some great golf. You can't fault that. But overall, we got the mixed team win, which is new, and it's exciting and it's great. And everyone's point counted towards that, and I think that's what matters.
Yeah. By my reckoning, you won 4 out of 5 games that you played in. which is not such a
I
bad
did.
record.
I think that's, I did.
Yeah, you must be
it's
proud
good.
of that, because again, coming into it, being one of the senior figures, people were looking to you with a new and inexperienced team to put points on the board, and you did that.
Yeah, obviously really happy to do that. And I think it's really not, well, for me personally, I like the feeling of being kind of a stable player in the team, and someone maybe in those moments with a tiny bit more experience you can maybe rely on a little bit more. So that always feels great to do that.
Now, the logical next step that people take when they've had the amateur career that you've had and are still enjoying is to think about turning pro and going to Q school and doing all these things, but you've decided to take a different path. Tell us a little bit about the thinking behind that and what your hopes for the future are.
I've decided to take a different path for, I guess, a combination of reasons, but I think a lot of people have the perception that going the pro route is the only way to go in golf, whereas there are so many amazing career paths that you can gain from any elite sport, really, but golf in particular, whether that's working in a golf club, in the media industry, or even just working on tour operations or being a PGA professional. There's so many different routes, and I personally am really interested in the media route right now. I think anyone who's played elite sport can testify to it. It's intense, and it's a long period of time. I've been playing for 16 years and absolutely loved it. I love competing. But right now, I think I just want to play for fun, really enjoy it, and explore some different avenues, and keeping the knowledge I've gained in the sport in my career, if I can.
So it's the media side that you're interested in, so I've got to watch out for my job here. But
Maybe.
What is it about that side of it? Because some people at the elite level tolerate the media rather than embrace it, but you see it differently. It's something that you want to explore as an option anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think I like talking a lot. Anyone will know me who knows me. I am a chatterbox. I like talking a lot. I'm quite, I'd say, analytical in my mind and like breaking stuff down. And I've just always loved hearing what the commentators have to say out there, and the way that people are now producing the coverage of golf to make it more almost appealing and interesting, because hopefully, I think it's the way it's going. Golf is becoming more accessible, and you want it to be entertaining, and I think that's definitely something that I would love to be involved in, is making it more accessible and entertaining on the media side of things.
Certainly in the TV side of things, there's a lot more females involved in the broadcast side, front of camera. Is that something that's inspired you, that you've been able to see this? You know, the Sarah Sturks of the world, Ailey Barbers, Iona Stevens, these people that are on TV all the time. Is that something that's kind of sparked a light with you?
Definitely. Those people have definitely inspired me to maybe take the step in that direction. And in the Daily Telegraph Junior Championships in Portugal, I ended up winning it in 2016. Henny Zul from Sky, she actually came down with Sky Sports and did a media clinic in the evening, and this is 6 years ago now, but I remember every single thing she said and all the tips and tricks, and we did little mock interviews, and I found it so fun. And definitely since then, I think that's probably the starting point where I thought, I actually really enjoy this, and I could see myself doing that one day maybe.
Mm-hmm. Was it a big decision to take, not to go down that professional route? It would have been the easiest one, the most logical one to take. Did you have times where you doubted yourself that the decision you've reached now was the right one?
Definitely. And I mean, I'll be honest, to this day, I still sometimes, people say little things, or I see some things of old friends and players doing out there on tour, and I do question it. It's definitely a hard decision, but I'd say my mind is pretty much made up right now to go down the other route. I think, as I said before, a lot of people underestimate the life of a tour pro. It is like being an elite amateur, but just on a whole nother level. And I think I could have done it, but right now it's just not really what I want to do, if I'm honest. And yeah, that's the decision I took right now.
Yeah. You're still going to compete. We're still going to see you play in England golf events, hopefully over the next few years. What do you hope to achieve as a golfer, first and foremost? Because you're still young. You can change your mind at some point and still go down the professional route. But right now, what's your goals on the golf course?
I think keep high amateur standard if I can, and get to play in some of the things that I used to when I was younger. There's lots of 36 holes event, there's, Sunningdale Foursomes, there's lots of events around Europe, amateur events that maybe I could use as almost a fun holiday or something like that, and just try and keep that standard up, and hopefully for a long time be playing for teams, whether it's England or my county even, or even my golf club when I'm older. Then I do love a team environment, so I guess those would be my goals, to still contribute to teams when I can, and just mainly enjoy it and see loads of new golf courses.
So we're talking here, we're going to see you in front of camera, holding a microphone, doing what Henny Zool did, interviewing people out on a golf course. Is that the dream just now?
I'd say, yeah, that's my dream. Eventually, hopefully I'll get there, but I'm just doing what I can right now to build on some skills that would get me to that place, and hopefully everything will work out.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Listen, wish you luck with that, and we'll see you on the circuit, on the England golf circuit for a good few years to come, and wish you every success.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Hannah for being so generous with her time, and I look forward to charting her progress on and off the course in the months and years ahead. Now, Kipp Popert is a truly remarkable young man. I first came across him 18 months ago when he won the English Open for golfers with a disability at Whittlebury Park in Northamptonshire, and was immediately struck by not only his talent but also his ambition. Without a second thought, he told me of his mission to become a professional golfer on tour, despite the 10 operations he has endured as a result of cerebral palsy affecting his lower body. Now, well, Kipp swaps places at the top of the disability world rankings with his good friend and rival Brendan Lawler on a regular basis, and this year he's won 3 G4D events that run alongside DP World Tour Championships, the latest coming a few weeks back at the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth. Kipp continues to switch between regular amateur events and disability tournaments, and has his eyes on the Walker Cup to be held next year at St Andrews. Given all he's achieved so far in life, I wouldn't bet against the Kent golfer, a brilliant role model for those in his county and far beyond, doing exactly what he puts his mind to. Kipp, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us on the England Golf Podcast. Number 2 at the moment in the Edgar rankings, maybe number 1, who knows, that could happen in the next few weeks. But another great season for you, summed up by that win last week at the BMW. Just talk about that first of all. What a great thrill that must have been.
Yeah, that was very cool. Obviously my third win of the season on the G4D tour. So that's the one that's run alongside the DP World Tour events. And for me, that was a really important win because I thought that would get me back to world number 1. And so, yeah, I'm very close and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But it was pretty cool. I had my dad, Wentworth's not too far from my house, about an hour from my house. So my dad was there and 2 of my uncles. So it was really cool. So I played very well on that back 9.
Yourself and Brendan, who's top of the rankings just now, that's becoming like Tiger and Phil in their pomp, isn't it? The two of you battling it out to be world number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Brendan's a really nice guy and he's very competitive. And yeah, it's a good challenge to always know that one of us will probably be near the top at the moment. So it's cool to sort of, constantly be battling out with the same person. Although the other guys on the tour, we've had 2 other winners this year, and they're all very good. Tommaso from Italy shot a 6 under, so everyone can play. I think a lot of it is some maybe haven't experienced top level tournament golf much in their life. So I think once everyone gets a bit more comfortable, the scoring will get even better. So my aim is to constantly be the bar. And, but yeah, no, it's me and Brendan have a good rivalry, but there's a lot of other good players as well.
Sure. The first time I met you, Kipp, was at Whittlebury Park last year for the English Open for golfers with a disability, which you won, I think, by 7 shots. And it was quite clear to me at that point that you were on the up and you were fiercely ambitious to reach the very top of the game. How far do you think your game's come, even in that short space of time, from when would it be, last June 21 to where you are now?
Yeah, extremely far. I have worked really hard. I'm hitting it a lot further than I ever hit it before. With my legs, that was always sort of the grey cloud over me. With gaps in my game, was I've always driven it extremely straight and had good ball control, but obviously to compete at the highest level and at the pro level, you have to hit it 280 carry minimum really. And so I'm not far off that now. So, and if I look at my body, I feel like there's a lot more gains I can be made in the gym to basically become better than anyone ever thought I could be. And yeah, as you mentioned, I'm very ambitious. So I just like the challenge. So the harder something is, the more I want to do it, and the more I feel comfortable when the pressure's on to achieve those things. So my game's definitely come on leaps and bounds. My putting's a lot better. Everything's just tightened up, to be honest.
Sure. For those who don't know the backstory, Kipp, I mean, you were born prematurely and you've got a form of cerebral palsy that affects your lower body. You've had umpteen operations in your life to try and correct things with your feet. But that's never stopped you from trying to push on and be the absolute best you can be at golf, to the point that you're not only competing in disability golf events across the world now, but you're also competing in the regular amateur events. You played the Leyland Trophy this year. You the first golfer with a disability to qualify for the R&A's Amateur Championship. You've had good performances in England Golf's Brabazon Trophy. To people on the outside, that would seem remarkable for somebody who has cerebral palsy. Do you even think about that now, or is it just something that you've obviously had it all your life, you've grown used to it, you've adapted? Are you just a golfer now rather than a golfer with a disability?
I think so. I was born 10 weeks premature, and the reason why I'm as good as I am, or have the option to go and achieve stuff that maybe no one else has ever thought possible, is because I've had two amazing parents. Both my parents are doctors. So all the costs of having a disability, from my insoles to I've had 10 operations and been able to get the best care possible, that's only been possible because of how fortunate I've been with having two parents as doctors. So that's the one big reason behind it. It's not just me. I've got the work ethic, but I've had absolutely everything else in place to achieve my aims as being. I've always said I'd love to be renowned when all this is said and done as one of the biggest overachievers in golf or in sport. That's my aim. So yeah, do I see myself as a golfer and not a golfer with a disability? I'd actually say no. I think I'm very comfortable now with my disability. Maybe as a teenager in school, kids can be a bit mean sometimes. So, all I would ever want was to have normal, in brackets, normal legs. And the reality of it is I think my legs are why I'm so determined and why I'm also so good under pressure, because the reality of it is I've dealt with, setbacks or challenges or adversity a little bit. As I say, I come from a very lucky background, so I've had absolutely everything. So for my legs to be the biggest struggle I've had in my life at the age of 24, it shows how lucky I've been. And so for me, when I'm under pressure and when I'm uncomfortable, that's when I'm most, I just perform a lot better. I've been in hospital beds after completing my GCSEs as a 16-year-old for 3 months, and so I've been in times where I've had to be very mentally resilient, and that just shows up in my golf. I think one thing I've always prided myself on is I love being, pressure's a privilege in my eyes. If you're under pressure, it means you're on the chance of doing something great. So I put myself under a bit of pressure this year. I got asked to play for the England disability team for the first time in the European Disability Championships, and obviously that was when they said that to me. It was an awesome honour. And then I realised that the Amateur Championship, the first ever pre-qualifying for it, was on the same week, and that took me a long time to come to a decision. And I decided to forego my England call-up because I thought, I'm playing good golf, but also I knew that if I just got myself in the mix at the Amateur pre-qualifying, I'd have the resilience to get through. So it was a definite battle, but to say no to my England call-up and then go and do what I said I was going to do, which was be the first person with a disability to qualify for the Amateur, and that's something I'm very proud of. And the England team didn't need me; they finished third, so there's a lot of good players. So,
where do you think the disability game is now in this country, Kipp? I mean, there's still clearly a long way to go, but I think it's fair to say strides have been made in the last couple of years. There's more appreciation of the game. There's more opportunities coming on board. You talked earlier about the DP World Tour widening things with Edgar and trying to encourage the very best disability golfers to perform on the big stage. What's your thoughts on where we are just now in terms of encouraging people with a disability to pick up a golf club and get out there and be the best they can be?
Yeah, we're making strides. It's really good to see. I think something to note is that the EDGA has been doing this for 22 years, so it's a slow process and it takes its time. And people have had disabilities playing golf a lot longer than that. So I think I'm very fortunate to come in at 24 years old at the very start of my career, and have the opportunities that have been given to me. And my personality, I just tend to try to make the most of everything I get. So blow it up as much as I can. So for me, obviously, being seen as maybe one of the leading disability golfers in the world at the moment, and I hope that will, be for the rest of my career, is a really important and very powerful position to be in the sense of how much I can help maybe change the game and increase its exposure. For example, that's why I play. Obviously, I do it all for myself. Let's be honest, I'm a golfer. I want to win trophies, and the trophies only come home with me. But I want to play the top level amateur golf and professional golf, because on the backside of that, the exposure that will bring to the disability game and the funding, which I must add is really important for people with disability. Golf is a fairly expensive sport for able-bodied players, and then you think that someone who maybe was in the army and has to get a prosthesis because he lost his leg and wants to start golf, prosthesis can cost upwards of 20k probably. So just to get onto a golf course can be very expensive. And so that's where funding is really important. And there's lots of charities that do great work. So for me, I think it's, you can be the best golfer in the world with a disability, but if you don't use that and help grow the game, then you don't really deserve to be there. So, for me, I've started with Kent Golf, a disability academy, back in, I think it was 2020 or 2021. When I first got to world number one, so I think it's 2021. And then there was no disability academies for me growing up. And we started with 2, and then this year we had 4. And so I think there was maybe 25 kids, maybe a few more, that had these academies hosted throughout the summer for them. And so it was awesome. So I actually had them at Wilderness, my home club, as just a thank you, and I had a day off. So I thought I'd, try inspire them a little bit, I guess. And they were awesome kids. So it was pretty cool for me. And as I say, I think the beautiful thing about disability golf is it's only going to grow now because people with a disability see it as an option. They see competitive people see golf, especially with the DP World Tour stuff, somewhere they can go and get their competitive needs and, the adrenaline rush.
You mentioned your work with Kent Golf, Kipp, and I know that you're fiercely proud of your county. You played county golf and everything that's going on there. When the kids have turned up for these academies that you've been involved in, I suspect you're a great inspiration to them, because it's difficult being a teenager anyway. It must be difficult being a teenager with a disability and then trying to play sport. And I know that that's something you've touched on before, that it can be an awkward time, can't it? And it's just getting over that hurdle and getting on with what you're passionate about and trying to play the sport to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I think for me, most people that love sport with a disability are very determined individuals. So they have that resilience to practice even when it's not going well. So it's a good attitude to have for golf. But I think, as you say, providing the opportunities to these kids to show them that there's golf out there, but also there's people that want to help them. Everyone's had a helping hand up in life at some point. So for example, a very good sponsor of mine this year, Variety Golf, have given funding to Kent Golf to allow them to expand the academies for next year. Because, as I mentioned, getting disability kids to the academies from a disability school or all the other costs that come with it is quite expensive. So we know that to grow this as much as we want, we need the funding in place first, and that's where Variety Golf have been. I'm very grateful to them for that.
Sure. Now, I presume when you're at these academies, Kipp, you're not slow to talk about the fact that you played St Andrews this year with Tom Watson and Paul Lawrie and some legends of the game, which I must admit, watching from afar, I thought, God, I'm extremely jealous as I saw you striding down the first and, playing your shot into 17, etc. How good was that for that Champions event pre the 150th Open Championship? That must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I think for me, that, as I say, I'm a very determined person, so I believe that I will be in the Open one day, and competing. And so for me, I thought it was the best opportunity because it was a 4-hole fun match. So my first ever time at the Open, I got to not care about the score and just enjoy myself, and not be competitive, Kipp, as you would. And so my dad carried the bag, and Stuart Sink's caddy helped us with numbers because we weren't allowed to use a rangefinder. But it was absolutely amazing. I mean, as I mentioned, I've worked so hard and been so fortunate. But in hospital beds, I imagined playing in front of thousands of people. And so when I put that tee in the ground, I froze a picture of a crane in my head that I was trying to hit it at. And before I knew it, the ball had set off straight at that crane. I absolutely crunched that first tee shot. And then sadly, there was someone called Tiger Woods behind me. So they didn't show my second shot, but I had 107 and hit it to 6 feet. So that was pretty cool. I then woke up then. But that was awesome.
Yeah, it absolutely sounds amazing. I bet Tiger was impressed as well when he saw you knock it stiff at the first. That's very good.
It was really cool. And as I say, to have my dad there made it even better. I think just to allow... Now, to be honest, I spent the 4 holes just looking at my dad and it was pretty cool to see him having so much fun. And to be able to give that to him. So that was really special for me. There's loads of pictures of, my dad having conversations with John Daly, Tom Watson. I had a 45-minute lesson from Lee Trevino, stuff money can't buy. And then I literally hopped on a flight and nearly qualified for the US Amateur. I missed out by a couple shots. So I literally got off the flight, had to send my caddy Ben out there a day early he couldn't get to the Open because he had to go and map this course for me. And we did a really good job there. I think I really wanted to make it a double this year, qualifying for the Amateur and the USAM, and to get off that flight and play the way I did, I was really pleased.
In terms of the future, Kipp, I mean, again, I'll go back to that first time I met you at Whittlebury Park last year, and I was just struck by the fact that you said, yeah, I want to turn pro, I want to be on the DP World Tour, I want to do all these things, and I was like, wow, fair play. I admire that ambition in you. I guess the last 18 months has just fueled that. So where are you in terms of your career path? Where do you see things going for you from this point on?
To be honest, I'm at a bit of a crossroads. With the DP World Tour, there's talk of they're making a player conduct and everything and making it a lot more professional for next year. There'll be more events, and as I say, what I've always wanted to do is play the biggest events I can. Doesn't matter if it's disability golf or able-bodied golf. What I've always decided is the biggest events, they're the ones I'll play. And so with the increased schedule on the disability golf, it will require a lot of planning to make sure I play a lot of the big amateur events and big able-bodied events next year as well. The Walker Cup's next year, and I know it's a long shot, but I truly, there's no reason why I can't come out next year at the start of next year and win a couple, 2 or 3 international events in my eyes. I really believe that that's the next stage for me, is performing at the highest level of able-bodied golf. And I don't think it's far off at all. I'm playing some brilliant golf at the moment, and my body, more importantly, feels amazing. So I think for me, even just to maybe get in the conversation or just to turn a few heads for the Walker Cup would be pretty cool. And that if there's going to be a team of 8, so why can't I be in it? Or team, I don't even know how we're in the team. I don't mind, but I'll just try force my way, as I say, just into the conversation. And then next year, I think it will be looking at turning pro and stuff like that. But it all depends on how the DP World Tour come to whatever agreement they put in front of me in the next few weeks. So yeah, as I say, for me, I think I've always said I wanted to play the highest level amateur golf because it's around the toughest courses, and that's where I'll develop my game the most at the moment, I think. And so for me, to be honest, when people ask me what my ambitions are, it's to win the biggest championships in the world, and that's including majors. And I know that's, people might giggle at me saying that with cerebral palsy, but people giggled at me when I used to say I wanted to be a 4 handicap golfer. So people always giggled, and I don't mind that. I don't mind, because it is far-fetched, but everyone thinks it's unachievable until you do it. So I'll just keep my head down and keep working hard.
Where do you think you get this inner belief from, Kipp? Because it is remarkable listening to you. And you're saying it without any arrogance, without any conceit. It's done in a perfectly humble way. But where do you get this drive? Because it's few and far between in athletes of any ability.
I don't know. I guess growing up with cerebral palsy, I've always loved sport, and my cousins were all very good sportsmen. they all played rugby to a very high level, and I would be outside praying with them. So I'd be knocked down the quickest, and I'd just have to get back up and dust myself off. That was the reality of it, is I wanted to win. And my cousins and my best friends growing up never made it easy on me, which I am very appreciative of. It was always just seeing me as Kipp, not Kipp with cerebral palsy. And yeah, I guess that's it. But my dad worked extremely hard. I used to get up at 6 a.m. to go to the golf course, because my dad's a surgeon in London, so he'd drop me at the golf course in the summer holidays and then pick me up when he finished. But, I'd be up thinking, I feel motivated this morning, and, getting ready to start my day, and my dad would already be up heading to work. So I come from a very motivated family, I guess.
Definitely sounds like that, Kipp. Yeah, it's fascinating. You mentioned your wider family there, and your cousins playing rugby, and I know tragedy has obviously hit your family as well with one of your cousins, and you use that as inspiration. I saw you mentioned that with your success at the BMW, that you were thinking about your cousin a lot during that final round, and it probably helped you get over the line.
Absolutely. I think my cousin Archie, we both were in the same position 4 or 5 years ago, where we weren't really anywhere with our sporting. We both had the determination and the dream. He was a rugby league player, and he worked for 3 years before he passed away, extremely hard, and transformed his body, and basically, again, shocked the rugby league world when he was offered a professional contract and played to the level he was playing at. And he went to France on his professional rugby debut, and then played very well, and then passed away that night. So for me, I think that was tough, because Archie had so much more to achieve, because I knew what he was going to achieve. I could, when I spoke to him, I knew where he was going to get to. And for me, that's similar. I've worked extremely hard, and I feel like I know what I was going to achieve. And I think maybe just a bit of a reality check that sometimes it doesn't go as planned. But for me, I do this for Archie mainly. To be able to, when I'm competing and when I'm under pressure, is when I feel closest to him, because it's what we both love to do. So very rare, on the last putt of most tournaments, especially the one at the BMW at Wentworth, because I knew I'm very close to being back to world number one, and I thought that putt was to get back there. And so, all I could see was him, and it went right in the middle, right to lefter. And on the previous hole, the 17th, I hold a 16-footer for birdie, and then had an hour and a half break due to lightning before I could play the 18th hole. So yeah, I love pressure more because it's what I've always practiced for, and I feel like it's a privilege. And then for me as a person, to be honest, it's when I feel closest to Archie. So I'm very grateful for his inspiration, I guess.
I guess there's that seize the day mentality, isn't there, that's probably been with you all your life, and just strengthened by what you mentioned there happened to Archie. So yeah, just looking ahead, potentially in the Walker Cup conversation, still playing the big amateur events, England golf events, R&A events, playing DP World Tour events. It's an exciting time, Kipp. You must be really looking forward to what the next year lines up for you.
Absolutely. I'm just looking forward to, I work hard enough that I get to events, and the rest takes care of itself, hopefully. And as I say, if I was in the conversation for the Walker Cup, that'd be amazing, but I know I've got to go out there and earn that. And that's something I'm really passionate about. There's no point me just saying it. And so, I think a couple wins next year in big amateur events, big able-bodied amateur events might at least get me around the conversation, because there's some extremely good players that will be in the mix for that. So the reality of it is, I think, I know what I'm up against, but there's no point not giving it my all.
Sure. Well, listen, great talking to you again, Kipp. Nice to see you. Good luck with Dubai as well, because you'll be playing the end of season event at the DP World Tour in Dubai. So good luck with that. And as I say, all the best for what you hope to achieve. And I know that there's plenty of youngsters around the country that'll have watched you and may even be listening to this and just think, do you know what? I can do what Kipp's doing. So that's a great thing for you to have, that you're providing so much inspiration for youngsters around the country. So good luck for what you hope to achieve, and we'll keep tabs on your progress here at England Golf.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ian.
I'm sure you'll agree he's a great lad, Kipp, and we wish him all the very best in what will be a busy few months ahead. And it's been a busy month of news just gone by, so let's catch up with an England Golf news roundup. This month, of course, has been overshadowed by the death of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Golf, as you would expect, paid solemn and appropriate tribute to the Queen, who was patron of the English Golf Union and then England Golf from 1952 until her passing. Condolences were extended to King Charles III and the royal family, and England Golf events that followed the Queen's death and took place before her state funeral were marked with a minute's silence. In championships, August and September were busy months with a series of worthy winners heralded at individual and team events. England's senior women's team lifted the Sue Jackson Trophy for winning their section of the home internationals at Pyle and Kenfig. Well done to Captain Angela Jones and her team. And well done also to Alan Mew's team for finishing with a silver medal from the European Seniors Team Championship in Estonia, narrowly losing out on gold to champion Sweden. Still a great reward for a sterling effort over 4 days. Well done, fellas. Leicestershire and Rutland won their first ever national title at the Boys County Finals in Furness in a tense final day battle with Gloucestershire. And at Stoneham Golf Club, the only way was Essex, the East Region champions winning all 5 of their games to be crowned Women's County champions for only the 4th time in 69 years. Italy's Alessia Nobilio won a dramatic playoff with Denmark's Christina Thuber at Beaudesert Golf Club to take the English Women's Open Stroke Play title. And well played to Dan and Rob Bardsley and John Paul Banbury, who won the English Champion Club event for Moor Hall at Lillybrook Golf Club and now go forward to fly the flag for England at the European Men's Trophy next month in Portugal. Talking of representing England, 12 of the country's brightest juniors will face Ireland in an under-16 challenge match on October 8th and 9th at Royal Birkdale Golf Club. 3 girls, meanwhile, have been selected to play for Team England at the World Junior Girls Championship in Ontario, Canada. Good luck to Sophia Philbrook, Elise Reimer and Maggie Whitehead for that one. The National Golf Centre at Woodhall Spa also welcomed the county champions over 2 weekends in early September to decide the Champion of Champions titles. Luca Thompson won the women's title, while the senior women's crown was won by Emma Brown, and the girls' honour fell to Isabella Kent. Nick Day won the men's title, Warren Bladen captured the senior men's trophy, and Charlie Crocker was saluted as the boys' Champion of Champions. Well done to all 6 golfers. Remember, to find out more on these stories and others, then head to the England Golf website at englandgolf.org and follow us on social media. Now to Lancashire, and a subject matter that I'm sure will be close to a lot of people's hearts. 2 years ago, Keith McIntosh began to explore setting up dementia-friendly activities at Leyland Golf Club in response to similar projects starting at other clubs in the area. Keith and some golf club colleagues took part in a training programme to understand what was required to make a success of the scheme, and they haven't looked back. On one Tuesday a month, Keith and some friends host the Leyland Golfing Memories Group, which encourages those people living with dementia, Parkinson's, or simply feeling isolated in their own community to come along, enjoy the company of others, and if they fancy it, to hit a few balls. Now, Keith joins me now. Keith, thanks very much for giving up your time. If we can rewind to 2020, can you just tell me what motivated you to look into setting up these dementia-friendly sessions at Leyland Golf Club?
Okay, well, as a dementia champion and an active member of the South Ribble Leyland Dementia Action Group, I was asked to liaise with a number of sports-based clubs and organisations around the town of Leyland. And being a member of Leyland Golf Club, that was my first port of call. And I'm pleased to say that the cooperation and interest I've received and the backing from Mark McGarry, the general manager, the chairman and members has been fantastic. And all the staff, the club pros, course manager, everybody involved has been very encouraging. And so that was a positive start to this partnership. And that coincided with the arrival of this fantastic resource from the Alzheimer's Society and England Golf that actually takes you on the journey and maps out the progress that you make. And we found that very, very helpful. So the first thing to do was to actually organise some meetings of members and members of staff to become dementia friends, to give them basic knowledge and understanding of what it means to be a dementia friend, following the guidance and the direction on the journey laid out by this fantastic publication. So that's how it all got started. And we've been on this journey, as you say, since the early part of 2020, and with the support of Jamie and the guidance. And then there came a time when we felt it was right to actually launch a monthly get-together. And our initial invitations went out to former members who have not been involved with the club for 5, 6, 7, 8 years plus. A number of them are gentlemen who were living on their own. So the opportunity to have some friendship and companionship over refreshments, as well as supporting people living with the conditions, as in dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, etc. So we've been going 3 months now, and it's proven to be very popular, well worthwhile, and appreciated by the members, our friends and guests who come along, and their families.
Before we get into, just how the group's developed and what you do at the meetings when you have them, can I just ask you your reason for involvement in this? But is there a personal reason for it? Is it just you thought it was a good idea? Because I read a stat the other day which said that there's going to be 1 million people by 2025 that will be affected by dementia, Alzheimer's. And of course that spreads far wider than that because it touches family members, carers, etc. So that's quite a frightening statistic. Was there a particular reason that provoked you to get involved in this, to start this dementia group at the golf club?
Yes, there was. And it was supporting my father-in-law, John, on his journey with dementia. And he was a very keen sportsman and a lifelong Preston North End supporter. And I took him along to a dementia clinic for an assessment. And he was feeling very unsettled, uncomfortable. He couldn't understand why he was there, etc. And then we noticed a photograph of the famous Sir Tom Finney splash photograph that was on the wall. And a volunteer came over and said to my father-in-law, John, it won't be long before somebody comes to see you. He's stopping for a cup of tea and a chat. No, I'm not for stopping. I want to get going. And then I just happened to say, John, just have a stroll over there and have a look at that photograph. And when he went over, he realised it was Tom Finney, the famous splash photograph. And the lady said, Sir Tom comes in here. He comes in once a month to our coffee mornings. He supports his wife who's on a journey with dementia. And as soon as we mentioned that Sir Tom actually visited the very same day centre, it calmed him. It had a real positive effect. And that really gave me the first-hand knowledge and experience of how powerful a sporting memory could be. And that led on to me then supporting John on his journey. And we would actually go, so when we were actually out and about, we'd call in at Deepdale and we'd arrange to go in and have a look round. And it would take him back, although the stadium it's changed a lot, it had done, but nevertheless, it was still Deepdale, the home of Preston North End Football Club. That was the initial experience that I had. And then I then started supporting another former professional footballer in Brian Pilkington, a legend of our hometown of Leyland and a member of the Burnley Championship side in 1960, who had recently then, back 8 years ago, been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. And I started accompanying him to our local club, Chorley Football Club, where he was a former player, manager and president, and I supported as a young lad. We put it together, and I then supported Brian for over 5 years. So personal experience through sport, families actually played a major part in my discovering my commitment and passion to actually help to support and educate and help families who are living with dementia and similar conditions. So personal, then going into the voluntary sector. Yeah, that's how it all began.
As I mentioned in the intro, Keith, I mean, there's probably not a family in the country that isn't affected one way or another by dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's the cruelest of disease. You've had personal experience of it. I've gone through a similar thing with my father-in-law at the moment. So there's lots of people who are touched by this. But I'm struck by the fact that what you've started up at Leyland Golf Club is a fantastic thing, because you do see in people's eyes when they see a photograph from their youth, or you bring in a football program, or it's a picture of a famous golfer or whatever, you can see faces light up. And I guess that's what you see when the group comes together at Leyland Golf Club, and it just enriches people's lives in so many ways, doesn't it?
It does indeed. And we're fortunate. I've got the support of a number of members who are long-standing members, and they've got a keen knowledge and background of the history of Leyland Golf Club in particular. And one of the resources that we actually use on a monthly basis is the official copy of the history. And some of the gentlemen who actually come to our groups are named in here as members, tournament winners, photographs, and to actually bring this to their attention, and to actually then allow them to walk outside onto the landings where all the competition winners are listed, and for them to point out when they won individual tournaments or team tournaments back in the day. And you are going back 20, 30, 40 years. And it's wonderful to actually for them to point out and see their name on the winners' boards around the clubhouse. So those are visual aids that you can, as you said, it brings a smile and a sparkle. And they love it. It works a treat. So, yeah, that's the positive power of sporting memories, golfing memories.
So when you started this at Leyland, Keith, give us a flavour of what would happen then on a Tuesday when you meet up once a month. How many people come along? Is it people at various stages of dementia and Alzheimer's? So there's a kind of broad range from people who are just starting out with memory loss and all the things that trigger the wider symptoms. Give us a flavour of what happens on a Tuesday when you meet.
We meet on the first Tuesday of each month, and the reason why we've gone to a monthly schedule for starters is that a good number of the people we're supporting and their families are already actively involved with attending other groups, dementia hubs, community groups, but it's something different. There'll be 10 guests, 10 friends and guests there, supported by 3 or 4 members who are buddied up. They very kindly offered to come along and accompany. We'll meet for a 10:30 start with the refreshments. And then we'll invite, similar to the sporting memories session model, we'll invite someone to share some of their sporting memories. So for starters, we invited the club professional, Colin Burgess, to come and share his journey and share some memories about his life and times in the golf industry, how he became a pro, the history. And he's, a long-standing, highly respected golf professional. And then we would invite the course manager, Scott Reeves, to come to talk about his journey, about how he got into the golf industry. So then after the reminiscence session, then 1 or 2 of the members will actually talk about their memories. And we do find that actually we'll say, can you remember when I played against you and I won that tournament by a couple of shots? The detail and the attention, the memories that some of our friends and guests have got, and they sat next to somebody they beat in a tournament 30 odd years ago. And they're reunited. And then they relive that experience. It's over a cup of tea and a biscuit. It works wonders. And then after we've done that, after about 3/4 of an hour, because that's enough by way of chit chat and concentration and focus and attention, then we'll head outside onto the practice putting area. And our golf professional, Colin, will set out a little putting challenge. And our volunteer buddies will actually then pass out the putters and the balls, and we'll just have a little tournament and a bit of a challenge. But I'll tell you something, Ian, they spend more time talking and reminiscing than putting, because you are actually bringing together some of the former members who have not seen each other for years and years, and they're reminiscing about the stories, the time they played together, they played with each other, the members, life members, and all the rest of it. And then come 12 o'clock, some of them stay and have some lunch, because, as one guy will say, Keith, I might as well stay here and have a nice lunch, because I don't want to go home to an empty house and have to cook my own. And that's where the support for people, particularly men living on their own in isolation, and they stop round for a chat. And then I've noticed somebody else will come in and they end up meeting someone, again, they've not seen for a number of years. So that's how it works. That's the session. It's very relaxed, very informal, very friendly companionship with a bit of golf. The golf is the attraction that gets them there for starters, but it's the friendship, the fun, the companionship, the care and compassion, I call it, and it works a treat.
It sounds so simple, Keith, but there's so many rich rewards from it. You think about golf clubs being this sporting venue, but they're also social hubs, and that goes for people who are juniors right through to the senior section. Yeah. And it's great that golf clubs can provide the location for something like this, and it's just that trigger, isn't it? It's just that trigger of memories, because when you're dealing with people who have perhaps got dementia or Alzheimer's, they can't tell you what they had for breakfast, but they can tell you something from 50 years ago, and I guess you'll experience that yourself. And it's
brilliant.
It's a great chuckle as well, isn't it? Apart from anything else.
Yeah, and the wind-ups and the banter. Some of these old boys, they know how to certainly wind each other up, particularly when they're talking about when they played together and are against each other, and the tournaments and the trips that they used to go on and all the rest of it. So it's ready-made. You just need to provide a nice, comfortable venue, provide some nice refreshments. And I'm pleased to say one of the members came up to me quietly and he said, I'm pleased to hear what you're doing. We've had dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's in the family. I will sponsor the cost of the refreshments for your support group. Quietly, people just want to play their part. It works, and the support from the club, and it really. And we've got another, other members who will say, "Well, I'll come and tell my story. I used to organise the stewards for the Opens when they were at Royal Lytham or Royal Birkdale." And they can tell some stories, and they'll bring their flags and they'll bring their uniforms, and they've got stories to share revolving around golf, but it's sporting memories, golfing memories, and it works a treat.
That is fantastic, Keith. So listen, good luck with your venture. Good luck for others who are doing similar things, and look forward to charting the progress in the weeks and months to come.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Well, brilliant stuff there from Keith, and the utmost respect to Keith and others like him for showing that there's much more to golf than winning trophies, arguing about your handicap, and searching for that perfect swing that quite simply doesn't exist. A great initiative up there at Leyland, and one that would be amazing to see repeated up and down the land. Thanks to Keith, to both my other guests, Hannah Screen and Kipp Popert, two wonderful young golfers, two great individuals with bright futures ahead of them. Remember, you can follow the latest in English amateur golf by heading to our new look website at englandgolf.org, and by following us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. Just type in England Golf to the search function. If you haven't already signed up for our member newsletter, then why not? Head to the member section of the website to sign up and get the latest news, prize draws and offers delivered regularly to your inbox. My thanks as always to Jenna Lee Portas for working her magic, using her skills to produce this podcast. And as the season draws to a close, enjoy what remains of the light nights and the autumn weather. Until the next time, thanks for listening. Bye for now.